Good morning everyone, you're with Tesla Tom here from Ludicrous Feed. Today is Sunday the 25th of June 2023 and we are about to embark on a road trip with both the Tesla Model 3 as well as the Tesla Model Y. Both are rear-wheel drive variants with the lithium iron phosphate LFP battery. Both were built this year in 2023. The Model Y was built in February 2023. The Model 3 was built in March 2023. Both have been charged to 100% overnight, and I will show you what the projected range is from the car for 100%. So there you go, both are still plugged in. Alright, so I'll be driving this car with Joy and the family in this one, Model Y, and the black Model 3 will be driven by Joy's dad, my father-in-law. First time driving an EV for an extended period, so it'll be interesting to get his thoughts for the journey. So Sydney to the Gold Coast is about 830 kilometers. Having done this journey before in our previous Tesla Model 3 Performance, I think we will probably need to stop about 3 times at least. We're staying over at Port Macquarie to break up the journey with the family overnight. So we'll touch base at each charging point to give you an update. And also using Tesla Scope, I will be analyzing the journey, especially with regards to efficiency between the Tesla Model 3 on the left and the Tesla Model Y on the right. So yes, stay tuned. More information coming very soon. Okay, so I'm currently now in the Tesla Model Y. It's a rear-wheel drive LFP battery, and at 100% state of charge. This car is now, let's see, February to June, so that's about 4 months old. We took delivery of this car in April. So 100% the car is telling us that we could drive 435 kilometers. That's what the projected range is. And just by comparison, in the Tesla Model 3 rear-wheel drive LFP battery as well, and this was built in March, so it is now June, so about 3 months old, and we took delivery of this in May, so about a month old from delivery. And 100% the car is telling us we can travel 439 kilometers projected. So that's the difference between the Model 3 and Model Y. Okay everyone, so we've just hit the freeway on the M1 heading to our first stop, which is the Supercharger at Heatherbrae. It's telling me that it's going to take 1 hour and 18 minutes, 132 kilometers away, and we're going to reach there 52% state of charge. And we are stopping the night in Port Macquarie, as I said, just to break up the journey. We'll reach Heatherbrae and we'll go through some stats for the drive there. We'll see you soon. Okay, so we've arrived at the Heatherbrae Supercharger, and just give you a quick rundown of our trip so far. Look at that, all green, which means that we did better than the projection, and driving 3.9% less than what the car thought it would use. Climate was also better, battery conditioning 3.1% less than the projection, and elevation was actually worse than the computer thought, which you would think that the car would know by now, right, with all the data points. But anyway, everything else 0.5% more than expected. All right, let's go plug in. Okay, so let's plug in now. Let's grab the top plug. It's the CCS2 right there, CCS2. Push the button. Charge flap opens. That's all you need to do. It's so simple with Tesla Superchargers. Okay, so the charge rate is ramping up now. 55% currently, 1409, and it should go up. It says 30 minutes remaining to continue the trip. And just very close to the charging site is of course the service station, just literally across that car park. Amenities available 24 hours a day, bathroom, convenience stop, shops, etc. So very good place to charge your Tesla. Okay, so now I'm inside my Model 3, 95% state of charge, and it says, yep, ready to go to the next stop, which is Supercharger at Port Macquarie. 2 hours and 8 minutes, 216 kilometers. You'll get there 38%. Okay, so it says we have enough to continue on our trip, and 90% state of charge. Let's go. Okay, so to unplug, super easy at a supercharger. Just hang on to this button. Okay, white light, pull out, and then hang it up on the cradle again. Alright, and away we go. Alright, so we've arrived at Sales, Port Macquarie, and 33% state of charge. You can see that we used 15% more than the trip projection actually. Most of it was due to the driving. Climate did better than expected, and there was actually a tailwind, 4.8% from the west, cost 0.2% this trip. So we arrived with 32.9%, which is about right. Alright, let's plug in at the free chargers. Alright, Sales Port Macquarie has a destination charger right here, right outside the hotel. There we go. Because we are guests tonight, we get to use it. Okay, so we're spending the night here, so 10 hours is okay. 6 amps, 4 to 5 kilowatts. So this is Model Y. Hopefully the spot next door will be free, then we can plug in Model 3 as well. It is 3-phase charging, albeit a bit slow. Okay, so now I'm in my Model 3 38% state of charge. So we're going to swap the cars around at Sales Port Macquarie. So from Heatherbrae, it started at, pretty close to 100%. So 95% up there. And we arrived, well, this car arrived with 39.2%. 55% was consumed. And the driving, 1.4% extra than the car's projection, but 2.6% less in terms of climate. Otherwise, everything else is fairly neutral, 0.7% extra in elevation. All right, so let's swap the cars around. And by the way, Model Y has got about 50% state of charge at the moment, so we'll try and top this one up as well. Okay, so we are plugged in now with the Model 3. It's also similarly getting 4 kilowatts, 5 kilowatts, 6 amps. I believe this spot here, which is the left one facing out or the right one looking into the spots, is getting 4 kilowatts, and that's a known issue. Whereas the spot next to me here, in fact, Joy is coming now with the Model Y. There she is, and she is going to park in. So we get both cars charging tonight, which is great. Okay, so here she is now driving to the spot on the right. And I think that one gets 11 kilowatts. So let's find out when she plugs in. Okay, so here's Model Y on the spot on the other side. So let's plug in. All right, here we go. Let's see what the rate is. Okay, so this one is ramping up now. This one's on 51%, the Model Y. And this one's also 3-phase, 16 amps max. We should be able to get 11 kilowatts. Here we go. So it's getting 11 kilowatts, which is the maximum AC charging rate 3-phase for Model 3 Model Y. Okay, so the spot on the left is 11 kilowatts and the spot on the right is 4 kilowatts. That's the difference. Morning everyone. Model 3 we left overnight at 4 kilowatts. It's now 100%. Time to move the car. Alright, there it is. Finished charging. Plug the car. Back in the cradle. There you go, 100% state of charge. Back to 437 kilometers projected. No, it was 439, wasn't it, when we started? I think. Anyway, 437 kilometers. And no Sentry events overnight as well, which is great. Very safe here at Sales, because it is now $10 parking every 24 hours at this hotel. Okay, and there's our Model Y. Let's go check out to see if there were any Sentry events overnight. So no Sentry events either, so totally safe in this car park. And 77%, so you might remember, I think it was 81% when we went to sleep. So 4% loss in Sentry Mode in about, I'd say about maybe 8 hours, maybe 10 hours worth of parking without it being plugged in. So good information to know. And yes, even though there was one empty spot here at Sales, I left it at a bit lower state of charge because I do actually want to check out the Chargefox ultra-fast charger here at Port Macquarie, because Chargefox has kindly partnered now with the Ludicrous feed channel to provide us with free charging at the DC fast chargers. So we will check out that charger today, so stay tuned. Alright, so here's the Model Y in the foreground, and there's our Model 3 in the background. And we didn't park very far from the Sales foyer, which is just there, the entrance to the hotel. So there's the entrance to Sales. There's a boom gate, $10 for parking every 24 hours. Okay, so we're here at the Port Macquarie service station, Chargefox Ultra Rapid Charger. They are 350 kilowatts, quite quick. There's 2 units, and it's a CHAD demo and CCS2. So Joy's going to plug into our Model Y now. As I said, I deliberately left the charge rate lower at 75%, 4% state of charge, so I can demonstrate to you the Chargefox charger today. And it's a CCS2 port right there. Yep, the black one for CCS2, and she's going to plug in now. Slips into our charger, and then pan back to the screen, which sometimes can be hard to see because of the glare, but it does say please pay, so let's tap our RFID card. Payment accepted, which by the way, Chargefox has kindly given us some free charging credit to test these units, so thank you Chargefox for the opportunity. And hopefully you can see the screen there as the charge rate goes up. As I said, I deliberately left the state of charge low so we can demonstrate this charging session today. And there we go, 74% currently. And because it's low, the charge rate will be low as well. If you came to the charger with a lower state of charge, then you can get a higher charge rate. We should get hopefully about 70, 80? No? Okay, so it's about 50 odd kilowatts for this high state of charge. I'll give you the amount of charge used, and voltage, amperage, or current, and the amount of time that's passed. And of course, if you are an NRMA member, or if you have membership with any of these other motoring associations in Australia, then you get 20% off your fee as well. And just looking at the back of the unit, there you go, tritium unit, NRMA electric vehicle, ultra rapid charger. There's another Tesla charging on the other side. Let's have a look at the area now. So just panning around me, it is a truck stop. As well as you can see behind me, there's some signage there from Chargefox, electric vehicle charging only, which is great. And you can see the units there. And then you've got instructions from Chargefox. And then panning across here, you've got McDonald's over there. And then on your left here, you've got Guzman as well, in case you want a different option. And this is quite a popular service station stop on the route to Brisbane or to Sydney at the Port Macquarie part of the M1 motorway. Very convenient stop. You see now the charge rate's actually dropped even more to 32 kilowatts. Maybe when the battery temperature does go up, that rate will go up as well. We'll see. We'll keep an eye on it. Yeah, so this is actually a really good location. You've got Oliver's, of course the Golden Arches, and then panning around you've got KFC there, and then of course Guzman, as I said earlier. So this is actually a really good location. We just need more chargers here. Alright, so we are going to unplug at 90%, so pretty close, and you can see how the charge rate has actually gone up because the battery has warmed itself up over time. So we've done almost 12 kilowatt hours, we spent 20 minutes here, and we'll unplug very, very shortly. Yep, stop there, thank you. Okay, and for this one you can actually stop the charger just by pressing the button. Okay, and back into the cradle. Excellent, and away we go. Okay, so here we are at the Maclean Supercharger. Quick look at the consumption. 60.5% consumed, 1.9% more than projection. We arrived at 20.3%, 56% was used for driving. Climate 2%, 0.5% for battery preconditioning, elevation pretty equal, and everything else was 2%. And a 4.1 kilometer an hour wind from the north costs us 2.4% for this trip. Alright, let's plug in. Alright, let's plug in. So this one is a different configuration to the other three stalls. It's a front-facing one, as in the car faces front. To access the charge port, there we go, plug in, done. This is Model Y. Okay, and the Model 3 has arrived as well, and we're going to plug that car in as well. Alright, let's plug in Model 3, push the button, and plug in. Okay, so these are the stats for Model 3, so they arrived with 28%, and they also did better than projected. Driving took up 63% of the trip, and climate 1.9%, battery conditioning 0.6%, elevation pretty equal as well, maybe 0.8% more, everything else 2.3%, and again 4.2 kilometer an hour wind from the north cost 1.2% for this trip. And to get to 100%, it's 55 minutes here, but the car will tell us when we've had enough to head on to the Gold Coast. Okay, so this is Model Y, 97%. We actually spent some time to have lunch down here at Harwood with the Maclean Superchargers. Great meal, by the way. The kitchen does close at 2 PM, so just be aware of that. But definitely enough to continue on. Still going at 31 kilowatts, so that's pretty impressive. But we shall unplug very shortly. And similarly with the Model 3, 99%. And still going at 21 kilowatts at 99%, which I think is pretty good. Anyway, let's unplug. Okay, so Joy's going to unplug Model Y. Back in the cradle. Okay, good. Then I'll unplug Model 3.
Webs, but no spiders.
Okay, very easy. Hold some button, pull out, back in the cradle. Done. Okay, so that is Harwood or Maclean done. And now it's off to the Gold Coast. It's always a bit of a decision whether to stop at Maclean or Coffs Harbour for lunch. But at least now we've got a few options on the M1. Alright, let's head off. Okay, so we've arrived at the Gold Coast Supercharger. As you can see, we got pretty close to the projected there. Arrived at 48%. Driving was 44.4%. Climate better than expected. Battery conditioning, elevation, everything else was a bit more than expected as well. And we lost 2.7% thanks to a 5.6 km/h headwind. Okay, so here we are at stall number 3A. Let's plug in. Grab the top one as always. And then, usual routine. Plug in Model Y. Okay, good. Okay, let's plug in Model 3 as well. Here we are. Also same routine. Plug in. Easy. Okay, so for Model Y, 30 minutes remaining, charging at 124 kilowatts to get to 100%. Okay, let's have a look at the stats for Model Y. We've got a whole trip from Sydney to Gold Coast is 848 kilometers. And efficiency is 150 watt-hours per kilometer, and that's similar to the efficiency for the life of this car so far, 150 watt-hours per kilometer as well. Okay, so I'm currently sitting in the Model 3, and if you've ever wondered whether preconditioning makes a difference, you can see on the app there that RB19, which is the Tesla Model Y, is getting 116 kilowatts, and it has been preconditioning the whole time, whereas the Tesla Model 3 is actually getting only 77 kilowatts, and it actually hasn't been preconditioning. And you pretty much can't get much more control than the experiment we're running here, because both cars have been pretty much driving side by, well, at least one behind each other. Same conditions, same highway, same time of day, pretty much all exactly the same. Obviously, one's Model 3, one's Model Y. Model Y is carrying 4 passengers, but pretty good experiment. Most things are controlled. Now, the reason why this car wasn't preconditioned the Model 3 was because we send the coordinates from the app to Tesla Model 3, and it sends the coordinates and not the supercharger locations. Hence why the Model 3 was not preconditioning, whereas Model Y was preconditioning. So there you go. Having a preconditioned battery makes, it makes a 30 kilowatt difference between one that is and one that isn't. Interesting, isn't it? And let's have a look at Model 3's consumption. This car consumed, I'll just flick it back to a percentage there, 63%. They consumed 2.4% more than the trip prediction, and they also suffered 0.7% cost due to a 4.5 kilometer headwind. But driving was more than expected, climate was better than expected. And let's have a look at the consumption now. The Sydney Gold Coast, Sydney trip, 849 kilometers, average 142 watt-hours per kilometer, which is actually better than the Model Y's efficiency, as you'd expect. Okay, so from where we're charging here, have a look at there. Across the lane here, we've got EV waiting bays, which is excellent. Great initiative there in case the chargers are being used. And then, if you just pan across this way, I'll just move my camera this way. Right at the other end of the car park, which is the valet section, and the entrance is where those people are walking to the right, there are actually some EV chargers. So great to see more charging options for non-Tesla vehicles as well. But what's interesting to note that even though the Model 3 didn't precondition, it is now trying to make up for it by heating the battery for optimal performance. And now it's running at 73 kilowatts, whereas the Model Y is now 64 kilowatts. So yeah, it's definitely caught up and it's now faster. But
RB19, 81% state of charge, 15 minutes remaining, even though it arrived with the lower state of charge than the Model 3, which is now 79% and 20 minutes remaining. So actually quite a good experiment here running in real time. Okay, update to our experiment, fascinating stuff. So RB19 Model Y is now 89%, 47 kilowatts, and Model 3 has pretty much caught up here, 88%, and is actually running at a higher charge rate, 55%. And I should let you know too that neither car is sharing a stall with another vehicle. So there you go, this is plugged into 2B Model 3, and Model Y is plugged into stall, 3A, and no one is beside us either end. So there we go. That is what's happening currently with our experiment for preconditioning and supercharging. Okay, so score update, very interesting. So the black Model 3, which wasn't preconditioned before, has actually caught up and beaten the Tesla Model Y. So now we're seeing it's 94%, and it's charging at 41 kilowatts. And the Model Y is, well, you can see that just ticking over to 94 there, but it has definitely caught up and it's charging at a faster rate, 37 kilowatts for Model Y. So there we go. It's finally stopped preconditioning or optimizing the battery. But yes, look, it's now neck and neck, and it's actually charging at a faster rate. Okay, so 95 for Model Y and 95 also for Model 3, so pretty much neck and neck. So I guess this really proves that preconditioning doesn't actually help that much, to be honest. In fact, it's getting 35 kilowatts for Model Y and 38 for Model 3. And it's still battery heating for optimal performance. Very interesting, isn't it? So you've got to question whether it's actually worth preconditioning the battery if it doesn't make that much difference. In fact, you get a slower rate if you precondition the battery this high in the game, or this late in the game. Okay, proof the Model 3 is faster. Model Y is 96%. Model 3 is now 97%. There we go, very interesting. I've certainly learned a lot today from this little experiment.
Okay, so this is future me cutting in while I'm editing this video and amused at myself getting all excited on the Gold Coast and wondering whether it's worth preconditioning the battery given that the black Model 3 caught up as the car tried to heat up the battery while it was supercharging. Look, I think I probably still would routinely precondition the battery while navigating to a supercharger. There were a couple of caveats to this situation. One, quite temperate, mild weather. Two, pretty high state of charge for both cars coming into the supercharger. I've experienced trying to supercharge a Tesla under sub-zero conditions when the battery is not warm, and let me tell you, it's not a fun experience. So I think if you're coming into a supercharger with a low state of charge, and it was quite cold conditions, the battery is not warm enough, I definitely would precondition the battery to get that faster charge rate. And as you saw earlier in the video when I was trying to charge at the Chargefox DC charger, when the battery wasn't warm enough, you saw that the charge rate was actually quite low compared to what it would have been if the battery had been preconditioned at a Tesla supercharging station. But as you can see, the weather's pretty good, the battery's warm enough, you're trying to get to 100%, then I think past about 80% state of charge, it probably doesn't make too much of a difference anymore, as you are currently seeing in this video. Okay, so the race is well and truly on. 99% for the Model 3 on my left, and then Model Y is 98% on my right. Very interesting. Alright, so 99%, that's probably enough for us. So Joy's going to unplug Model Y to start with. Okay, so Model Y is out. 99%, and then Joy will now unplug Model 3. Okay, so we go, 99% also, back in the cradle. Alright, so both cars are 99%. I'm charging this high because our accommodation actually doesn't have a charger, but we're so close to the Pacific Fair Tesla Superchargers here at the Gold Coast, so I'm not too worried at this stage. Alright, let's head to our accommodation.
Hey everyone, so we've parked the Tesla Model 3 in this car park, which is essentially a public car park, for the last 3 days. I've not moved this car at all. We arrived here with 98%. It's now 77% with Sentry Mode on all the time, and it has reported 9 events. Okay, so 3 days times 24 is 72 hours. It's dropped 21% in 72 hours. So essentially, what's that? 21 in 3 days. So that's about 7% per day, really, right? So 7% every 24 hours. So essentially it's about 1% every 3 and a bit hours that Sentry Mode uses when the car is parked in a public car park, having triggered 9 events. So sort of a moderate to light amount of Sentry Mode events here in the car park with the Tesla Model 3. Okay, so here we are at the Port Macquarie Tesla Superchargers. Even though the Cassegrain winery is currently under administration, the Tesla Superchargers are still in operation, as is the cafe, and I guess the winery is still open at the moment. Alright, so here I am in the Tesla Model Y, and this will be our final charging stop, and this is actually the Tuggerah Central Coast Supercharger. We made it all the way here from Port Macquarie to the Central Coast, and we skipped Heatherbrae, for those of you who know that charging stop here in New South Wales. So not bad for both Model 3 and Model Y, all the way from Port Macquarie to Central Coast, and this is where we'll top up for the last time and then head back to Sydney from here. Alright, car is almost done, and check this out. It's actually well signed. Look, Tesla charging station. Right? It's so unusual for good signage for our EV stations, but here we are, Tesla charging station. I like it. Okay, so this is the result that we all came to see. Left side, Model 3, right side, Model Y, and there the stats right there. Model 3, 1,723 kilometers, driving from Sydney, my home, to the Gold Coast, and then back again to my home in Sydney. 250 kilowatt hours of energy consumed, and efficiency of 145 watt hours per kilometer. And then on the right hand side, Tesla Model Y, same thing, from my home to the Gold Coast and back again. 1,775 kilometers, 272 kilowatt hours of energy consumed, with a final efficiency of 153 watt hours per kilometer. We used a bit more energy in the Model Y because this car was used to travel a bit more around the Gold Coast. For example, going to the theme parks, whereas Model 3 was parked in the hotel car park for the entire time. And as always, I'll leave a link to the road trip data in the video description below for both Model 3 and Model Y, so feel free to click on that link and take a look at all the stats from the trip. But here are some highlights from the numbers. Model 3 took 3 hours of DC charging, Model Y 3.5 hours, and between them, between 13 to 15% of the journey was used for DC fast charging. The average DC charging time was between 26 minutes for Model 3 and 30 minutes for Model Y per session. Now, because I have free supercharging miles from all the credit I've received as referrals from generous viewers over the years, this trip essentially cost us nothing at all except for maybe about $4 per vehicle to top up both cars at the end of the trip. However, based on the current supercharging cost at the time of the trip, the average Model 3 driver, had they used the same superchargers en route to the Gold Coast and back, it would have cost them $117.81, whereas the Tesla Model Y driver would have cost them $136.38. Supercharging fees can vary from location to location, but they are correct at the time of this video. Comparing the Tesla Model 3 to a fuel-efficient vehicle such as the Toyota Camry Hybrid, at an efficiency of 6 litres per 100 kilometres of petrol at $1.80 per litre, which was the average cost of unleaded petrol at the time of this video, it would have cost them $184.96, whereas comparing the Tesla Model Y to a Toyota RAV4 Hybrid, again at 6 litres per 100 kilometres of fuel efficiency at $1.80 per litre, it would have cost them $191.45 for the same trip.
And as I already explained earlier, we covered more distance in the Tesla Model Y to get around the Gold Coast, such as going to the theme parks, whereas Tesla Model 3 stayed in the hotel the entire time. And once again, wrapping up, the efficiency of the Model 3, 145 watt-hours per kilometre, that's what the car told us, versus the Tesla Model Y, 153 watt-hours per kilometre, and that's driving at between 100 and 110 kilometers an hour for most of the trip, for a total distance of approximately 1,700 kilometers. And finally, how did my father-in-law feel about driving the Tesla Model 3 for 1,700 kilometers from Sydney to the Gold Coast and back, given that was his first time ever driving an EV? Well, in his own words, it was easy, and I could tell that it didn't take him long to get used to the Tesla infotainment system, the navigation, and even the car's regenerative braking system. Alright everyone, I'm Tesla Tom. You've been watching our Tesla road trip from Sydney to the Gold Coast and return in both the Tesla Model 3 and Model Y. Thanks so much for watching. Until the next Ludicrous feed video, happy charging.